This humanitarian catastrophe on the ground is currently on par with the worst of them in the world. It's on par with what we've seen a few years ago in areas like Myanmar. And if it continues unabated, it may reach Syria-type levels. For about 6 months or so now, there's been an ongoing civil war in Ethiopia's northern region of Tigray, and it's been a brutal war that has led to hundreds, if not thousands, of deaths, as well as the displacement of millions across the region. And it has also left something like 4.5 million people in need of food aid. For the initial months of the conflict, there was no communication services across the region, so no phone, no internet services, and aid workers and journalists were prevented from accessing the region. So we've had to make use of smuggled footage, satellite imagery, and eyewitness testimony from residents and eyewitnesses who we've been able to locate in refugee camps in Sudan. It's made for a whole lot of work, but it has established that this has been an absolutely harrowing conflict for the civilian population. Most worrying of all is what my colleague Will Brown and I have attempted to highlight in our coverage ever since the beginning of the war. The fact that there have been dozens, if not hundreds, of mass killings of civilians across the region. And this is in addition to a campaign of rape and ethnic cleansing that's been ongoing as well. Just last week, Abuna Matyas, who's the head of Ethiopia's very influential Ethiopian Orthodox Church, which counts anywhere between 40 to 50 million members, went out on record as stating that the war in Tigray had actually become a genocide against the Tigrayan people. The UN Security Council actually tried to pass a joint statement condemning atrocities in Tigray. That initiative was scuttered by China and by Russia. There's been some pressure from the likes of the United States and the UK to urge Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, the Nobel Peace Prize winning Prime Minister, to force Eritrean soldiers to withdraw from Tigray, and access has very gradually reopened, so some journalists and aid workers have been able to get to the region, and there are some limited phone services in some areas. And what this was able to do was help us confirm months of allegations and harrowing testimony that pointed to the carrying out of some gruesome atrocities, mostly by Ethiopian and allied Eritrean soldiers, which have led to the deaths of scores of civilians, and the crimes against humanity that occurred and that are still ongoing continue to make victims of the mostly civilian population in the area. This humanitarian catastrophe on the ground is currently on par with the worst of them in the world. It's on par with what we've seen a few years ago in areas like Myanmar. And if it continues unabated, it may reach Syria-type levels. So I think I think we've done our part to parlay the seriousness of the conflict to international audiences, and all the more reason for the diplomatic community and the key players to act with urgency.